I'm going to go over how to build a telesales agency. So there are really two paths to do this. But first off, before you keep watching this video, if you're not ready to work 60 to 80 hours a week for the next few years of your life, you're never going to build a telesales agency. So stop watching the video right now if that's not you. But if it is you, then keep watching because you have the effort to make it happen, to do what it takes. So there's first off, you're going to spend more time, energy, and money doing this than you probably anticipate it taking right now, but it's worth it in the long run. So I'm going to go over how to build it out, maybe some mistakes that I made that you can not have to make yourself, and then we can go from there. So number one, recruiting. So first off, obviously building an agency requires you to recruit people. When you first recruit people, what I would focus on is recruiting leaders more than recruiting salespeople. So what I mean by that is obviously you want to recruit salespeople so that they can sell and you can make a profit on their sales, an override. But more important than that, for your sanity down the road, 3 to 5 years from now, you want to be thinking that far ahead. Recruiting leaders will allow you to scale faster and build faster, because if you're only focused on recruiting salespeople, a few years from now, you're still going to be recruiting salespeople. But if you focus on recruiting leaders, a few years from now, those leaders are going to be recruiting and building salespeople. So you want to look for leaders to build. They don't have to be a 10 to 20,000 a week producer. It's okay for them to be a 5,000 a week producer, or hey, whatever. I mean, you're looking that they have pretty good sales skills, but also that they are good leaders, because the top closers aren't always the best leaders. Honestly, most of the time, top producers do not make good leaders. But that's not always the case, but a lot of times that's just how it is, because it's just the emphasis and focus is on different things, which I'm not going to get into right now, but I've just noticed that in my career so far. So what I would do when your first few recruits, I would have them be warm market people. I would have them be people close to you who you have a good relationship with, who you know is a hard worker, who you know is a hustler, and you feel like would be a good influence on other people that you think could be successful in this business as well. Why is that important? Well, number one, it's because you will hold yourself accountable to each other. Like, you'll hold yourselves accountable to each other. You'll show up for each other, and you have that relationship already to be there for each other and push each other and not give up on each other. Right? Kind of like the Army's like no man left behind mentality. When you're there with your friend in the trenches, you guys are more likely to push through those tough times than you are to pull back and quit on them. If you, with that, the quitting is more likely if you're with someone that you kind of hired off a job board or something like that, who really doesn't have like that other type of like intimate connection with you. I'd say, I don't even know if that's the right word, but that high of an affinity of a bond towards you. So you want to have someone in your warm market. When I started, there were a few people that started with me that were really, really close to me, and a couple of them are still with me, and they are really close to me. So I would start with warm market, look for people who are leaders and help them develop into leaders. At first, they have to learn sales, but you also want to focus on leadership training, and also focus on leadership training for yourself, because your ability to grow and scale will be determined by your ability to lead. That's just how it is. Like, your leadership is influence. That's all it is. And if you're not training on your ability to influence other people and be a motivation to other people and get them going, you are not going to make it much farther past having your own small team of people who have to be like, who are self-motivated already. So you want to be working on that, which I'll get into in a minute. After you have your core group of people, then you would have to start looking out to job boards. You can have them look in their warm market, but then I would look out onto job boards. So there's ZipRecruiter, there's Career Builder, there's LinkedIn, there's Indeed, there's Monster.com, all these places. You want to start going on there, and you want to start hiring people close to you. I would not go all around the country, and this is why. Because when people are close to you, you'll be able to meet with them, have dinner with them, go to lunch with them, hang out with them, make a friendship with them that will keep them with you longer, and it'll help establish that relationship. And then you're like working with people that are close to you every day and that you have a good relationship with. So when people are around the country, it's harder to do that. It's harder to establish that bond and that relationship. I've learned that with me. Like, a lot of my closest, the people that I work with that I'm closest with, I've met in person. I've hung out with them. I know their family. I know their friends. Like, we have similarities in common and we get along that way. So I would pick people that are close to you. I know when you start, you're like, hey, people can work from anywhere. Yes, but it's better if they're close, because you guys can have that, you can have a better relationship than if they're farther away. So when you're first recruiting, I would focus close to you in your area. Right now, I'm kind of at like full bore recruiting mode, because I have leaders who I am helping develop their team. So we're signing up like 200 or more people per month for the insurance pre-licensing course. You do not want to go crazy like that until you have a system structure set up in place, because you're kind of going to get yourself into a chargeback mess. But you want to build out a solid core group of leaders. You're going to have to go through several people to get one person. So I would over recruit. Like if you want one from your warm market, recruit 3. I got lucky, and I had one from my warm market end up leaving. So when you're recruiting for your warm market, same thing. You always want to recruit in excess. Anything that you hire a position for, anytime you're hiring for a position, always over recruit. The only time I ever had any drop in production, it can be directly traced back to a drop in recruiting. It wasn't training, it wasn't motivation, it wasn't accountability, it was recruiting. When it comes down to it, that's really what it was. Recruiting is the lifeblood of your business when you're building an agency. 90% of people aren't going to make it in this business. Do not fight those numbers. If you want to make yourself feel good, just say 80%, but it's really like 90%. 80% of people are not going to make it in this business. So keep into account, especially when you hire someone from a job board. If you hire 10 people, 1 or 2 of them may be there in 12 months. So you're going to have to over-recruit, over-hire. That's just what it is, though. It's 1099 full commission. It's a hard business. It's not hard for someone to be good and have a good week, but it is hard for someone to be good and push through the bad weeks. Okay, so always over recruit. And once again, I cannot overstate this. Make sure that your recruiting is focused on building people up who are going to be leaders in your organization and who are going to help develop and grow and scale moving into the future. So next is training. Once you have people recruited, you have to have a training system. Now, when it's just a couple people that are in your warm market and close to you, what I would recommend is you guys work from the same place. Have them come to your home. Have like a separate place in your house where it's like your own home office, and have them right there next to you, because they're going to have to show up and be accountable to you every day. People come up with excuses, man, and people love excuses, and when people turn into 1099 jobs, their lives just fall apart. It's like they all of a sudden, since they don't have someone breathing down their neck, screaming at them to be here and leave at this time and whatever, their life fall apart. And it's okay. That's just how we're conditioned, but you got to help them keep that structure. So I definitely recommend, if you can, have people come to your home. And that's what I did. I had a couple people come to my house, and I'm like, dude, I got a second bedroom. We were dialing off plastic picnic tables. That's all it was. I bought a couple computers because they didn't have any, threw them on a credit card, and we just got rocking. So I would have people come over and do that, and then that'll help you guys brainstorm and develop that relationship. And also, while you're training them, you can be right there on their calls to jump in. This is imperative for telesales. You have to be available to help a new agent close a sale. If not, they will burn out, they will run out of money, and they will quit. Like, it's just a matter of, I mean, some won't. I didn't, and some people that I know didn't and won't. They didn't have that help. But look, most people need that help and assistance and support. So what I mean by that is you have them there, you're listening to them call their leads, they're dialing their leads, and you're just sitting there right behind them to jump on the phone and help them close the sale if they need it. All you got to do is just pick the headset off their head and sit there and help them close the sale. So when you're training people, you want to train them on the script, you want to train them on the sales process, you want to train them on the products, help them learn and understand those things, but you also want to have them on the phone making calls in live training. So you want to be there listening in on their calls and helping them close their sales when they run into a rough spot. A great way to do this too and monitor their calls is with a CRM. VanillaSoft has a very, very good way for you as a manager to monitor every one of your downline's calls, see who's on the call, jump in, listen to them, and you can like shadow and then tap in, talk to the client, and then at the same time. So that really, really helps with training and development. If I didn't have something like that, we would be not dead in the water, but like it makes it a lot easier. Now, if someone is not at home with you and they have to be remote somewhere else, and you are starting it with someone who doesn't live near you, it's okay. I would get the same CRM. I would use VanillaSoft. If you're using something else right now, if you cannot connect with them easy and help them monitor their calls and it's a new agent, you have to get a new CRM. Like, do it. And another thing they can do is patch you in on their calls in a 3-way call. But it helps with a new agent listening in because you can coach them and tell them what to do. So training that's how you want to have training be practical, where you practice it, and then theoretical, where you teach them the different steps of the sales process and the script and underwriting and the carriers and products and stuff like that. So it comes hand in hand. I would make sure that they're training every day. You want to train every day as well. You want to show your team and your people that you are training every day. Look at this YouTube video I watched. Look at this training video I watched. This is what I learned from training today. This is how I'm going to apply it today in my sales. You can't expect other people to do what you tell them to do unless you're doing it too. So training is huge. A lot of us think that our personal development not a lot of us, but like we're conditioned for growth and development to be kind of automatic until we get out of high school. And then it's like we have to consciously make an effort to go to class in college. After that, we have to consciously make an effort to like get better and improve on things. So you want to instill it until it becomes like almost like an unconscious action of wanting to learn and get better and improve and train every single day. So I would have training every single morning. And also I would create a structured, scalable training system. So something that's very easy to follow, that someone who you are training can easily replicate and duplicate in someone else down the road once that initial person becomes a leader. Have a structured training system in the morning. So I would have it in the morning. I would have people show up to a morning call and then cover like one training topic a day, and then you can have them cover something else or learn something else. When they're brand new, obviously they're going to have to learn more. But even if they're experienced, you guys want to set that structure where it's like every morning at 8 a.m. we're on Zoom learning something, watching a YouTube video. How are we going to apply this to our sales today? Watching a sales training course, maybe watching one of my videos. I don't know. Train daily with your team. Have a group chat where you share good ideas and successes and realizations and wins. And then be ready to jump on their calls. There's a great training system that I use called MAKH. It's really good. It's a really easy way to type things out and put videos on there and structure training systems and training platforms so that people can learn from it. So next it comes down to sales. So when it comes to the sales, what I would recommend is that you use just a few carriers. So we use American Amicable, Prosperity, and then our guaranteed issue as Gerber primarily. Those three companies, if you're independent, you'll probably have like AIG, American Amicable, Prosperity, and AIG. Those are the three carriers that I would teach on. If I restarted and I was in an independent model, we are captive here, but I did start independent, I would pick those three carriers, and that's all I would have people sell. I wouldn't let anybody contract with anything else under me. Like I wouldn't. I'd be like, yeah, you can, but I'm not dealing with that, because you do not want to have a charge, but you don't want your chargeback spread out. So you want to be thinking down the road too. Like, hey, if this person writes like 2 deals with Mutual of Omaha and I barely write Mutual of Omaha, and then all of a sudden one charges back, great. Now, like, I have to pay that chargeback separate. It's not going to get washed out from the other deals that are flying in. So you also too, when you start, you have to keep your sales up. So you're going to be working a lot to make sure that you get your sales in while helping them close on their sales. Have them shadow you too on your calls while you're making your sales calls and going through your presentations. Make sure they're taking notes. Make sure they tell you what they learned from that. So pick just a few carriers and make sure that you are teaching those carriers and helping your people understand why it's important just to have a few carriers. 1, it's easier to learn. 2, it's easy to scale. 3, you don't get chargebacks mixed up. 4, it's easier to win carrier bonuses, incentives, and stuff like that. And it just makes your life a whole lot easier. Do not spread your business out too thin. Next, you have to obviously get leads. Okay, so a new agent needs leads. So it's your responsibility as their upline to make sure that they have reliable, fresh lead sources. So do your research on your own. Find lead vendors. Find a few of them. Get samples from them. Test them out. Test the waters. Your IMO hopefully has a really good lead system for you. So if they do, tap into it. If they don't, reach out to me. I can plug you into someone who has a really, really good lead system and can help you out. So make sure that they are working leads, or they have leads to work, they have sources to buy leads from, and that the sources are good, because people are a new agent's only going to spend so much money on leads and not make a sale before they quit. So you almost have to like hold their hand and walk them through their first few sales. And like for several sales, like get them their sales, give them the commission, let them make the money, and show them what it's like to reinvest that money back in their business and turn a profit on it. Because most people don't know what it is to flip money. They don't know, like, oh my God, I have to spend this. It's like not spending. It's like I'm going to turn 1,000 into 5, 1,000 into 5,000. So you want to help people understand that. And it's your responsibility as their leader to hold their hand through that process and help them with those sales. Also with sales, like I'm going to say this again, CRM, you want to make sure everyone is plugged into the same CRM, so you can monitor when they're going through their calls. If you're on a screen share on Zoom or you're in front of them, you know exactly what they're doing and what they're looking through. And also too, if you have the CRM, like I said, VanillaSoft, that has that capability to be able to hop in on other people's calls. If everyone's using a different CRM, then that's just it's not possible. So you want to have everyone on the same CRM, everyone on the same system, because you want to teach them how to duplicate that in someone else. So as you're teaching someone something and training these people, you want to think of it in a sense is like, can this person teach this to someone else down the road? Okay, so obviously sales is important, leads are important, training is important, recruiting is the most important thing. If you recruit bad people and not enough, if you don't recruit enough good people, you will not make it as an agency builder. You just won't do it. So you have to recruit good people, and you have to recruit a lot of them, and even good people are going to leave. Communication is a very important part of your development of a team. And what I mean by that is communication channels, communication lines. So what I recommend is for you guys to have a group chat with each other. Be encouraging, be motivating, say funny stuff in there, say jokes to help each other as you're going through the day. Make it a cool cultural thing to promote in the group chats and to talk in the group chats. Another thing, Zoom calls. If they're not working with you in an office, you want to have a Zoom call set up where you guys are in the Zoom all the time with each other. Call it your virtual call center. A lot of you, when you start a telesales agency, you're not going to have the money to go rent an office. And if there's no one, I wouldn't just go rent like a huge office. I did that, and it was like I bit off more than I could chew. So if you're starting and you want to hire remote people, that's totally cool. It works. But understand, you have to have everyone plugged in on the same CRM. Everyone has to be on a Zoom call all throughout the day. Like, it's not just like, oh, yeah, they're over there and I haven't really talked to them today. They're doing their thing. Maybe like a few months down the road or like a while down the road. But at first, you got to get them plugged into a Zoom call with you every single day with their camera on and you guys communicating. You have to be able to monitor their CRM and their calls all throughout the day. And if you notice that they're not on the phone, be like, hey, what's going on? Micromanage people until they're able to manage themselves. I know it's 1099 and you can't tell people when to work, but you can set expectations from the beginning. Set expectations from the beginning with people and say, hey, what are your goals? So like, I want to make $100,000. Cool. So this is what it's going to take. Are you willing to do that? Yes. Cool. Do I have your permission to hold you accountable if you don't do that? Yes. All right, sweet. And then hold them accountable to it. And if they're not there, hey, you told me that you'd show up and you're not here. What's going on? Oh, well, I have this, and this going on. Okay, cool. So what we're going to train on is how you can prioritize your life for your business instead of prioritizing your business around your life, right? The business has to be the number one priority. A lot of people mess that up. They get into 1099 and think, oh, I have a flexible schedule, meaning my life takes priority over my work. Your work is your life. Like if you don't make money, then you are going to have a crappy life. That's just how it is. Like, I don't care what any mumbo jumbo says. Like, if you do not make enough money, your life is not going to be as high of a quality as it could be. So instill that in people and help them understand, like, hey, you're going to put in a lot of effort at first and you're not going to see the reward of it right away. You're going to have to wait until down the road to see that. But if you keep putting the effort, then it will come back. And that's why that communication is so key, and having people in contact with you and on Zoom and accountable. Because if not, it's very easy for people to get discouraged in this business and quit. My first couple years, there were many times when I wanted to quit and give up and throw in the towel. And I had accountability towards other people in my life and other people on my team. I was like, you know what, I can't do that for them. I can quit on myself. I quit on myself faster than I quit on other people. So make sure that you have people in that chat with you and you're in communication with them all throughout the day. You have conversations. You get to know them. You get to know their family. What's their dog's name? What do they like to do? What gets them excited? Personal hangout time is another great thing that I was saying that you want to do with your people to meet them. And you want to train on being a leader for yourself. So you want to train on how can I be a better leader? How can I be a bigger influence on people? I was so focused on sales training when I started that I wasn't focused enough on being a leader and developing myself as a leader. If I could go back, I would have done more recruiting and more leadership focus than I would have sales training course build out and sales training focus. Also, I would have gotten focused on marketing. So make sure you're promoting yourself all the time, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Make videos just like I am. That's how I got into it. I'm like, I want to get known in the industry. I want to help people out. So make sure you're promoting yourself and you're helping make a name for yourself out there so that people can try to start to find you organically. The basics of building a telesales agency is you have to recruit a lot of people. You want to have everybody plugged into the same CRM. You want to have people selling just a few carriers at a time. You want to have reliable lead sources. You want to make sure that you have people, you have some money saved in case chargebacks happen and there's roll-up debt. If you have someone who's making a bunch of sales, make sure that they can get through their tough weeks, because if they leave and they've had a bunch of sales on the books, you are going to get smacked with roll-up debt. It's going to happen. So that's why it helps as well to just have a few carriers that you're selling, because then it can get washed out with new sales. You're also going to have to keep up on your own sales until you get to a certain amount of people where you just have too much going on. After you get to 5 to 10 people, you're going to have to staff up, meaning you're going to have to hire an assistant. You're going to maybe have to hire someone to help with payroll, maybe like a virtual assistant. So once you get to a point where you're doing when admin work takes more time than training and selling and recruiting, you have to hire someone to do that. You have to. You're going to have to staff up. Now, I'm captive, and I'm with Senior Life Services, and we're a captive agency, and I love it because I don't have to worry about that staffing. Like, I do have assistants and I do have recruiters, but like back office licensing, contracting, new business support, agency support, like all that stuff, commissions, I don't deal with any of that. And I did when I started. And I am more than happy to sacrifice a commission percentage to have that stress out of my life in that time. So if you go into building a telesales agency and you're like, man, this is like a lot more than I expected, the intention of this is not to be a recruiting video, but you can always reach out to me and I can show you the system we have set up and why it was more appealing to me in building a telesales agency than the independent route was when I started. Bottom line is, the first thing you want to focus on is the most important thing is the people that you bring on. You want to have a good core group of people that are leaders and that are loyal and that are they don't have to be rockstar salespeople. Just make sure that they're decent salespeople and that they're loyal and they'll be able to develop other people. So that's really the basics of building a telesales agency, guys. You have to recruit, you have to have training, you have to have lead flow, and you have to have system structure thinking several years out. And as you develop a system to handle the day-to-day activities that come up, if someone can do that 70% as good as you, then I would hire someone else and outsource it. Don't expect to make money your first year. Don't expect to make a big profit your first year, maybe even your second year. You're going to have your renewals come in, and once that team size starts to grow and stuff starts to become more automated, then that's when you're going to start to make more money. So I hope this helped out some of you who are interested in building a telesales agency. If you have any questions, just email me at jve@thejve.com, and I'd be more than happy to answer your stuff.